You've cracked the vault. The final showdown is among us. 1,000 voices have been talking in your ear non-stop. It's getting really annoying. It's time to face Riven. This is a long guide, so timestamps to certain parts are in the description. We'll go over the entire fight first, and then how it'll flow. Team composition should focus on ad control and defensive abilities. For the first time in I don't know how long, if potentially ever, I am recommending Sentinel over Sunbreaker for its defensive capabilities and slaying potential. If you're of a high enough level, dare I say Thunder Crash is good as well for a certain part of the encounter. Well of Radiance is also very nice to have if you have one. Otherwise, tethers will be excellent when first learning the encounter and are generally a good idea to have. In terms of weaponry, can you believe that Whisper is yet again really good? Unbelievable, I know. Longer range weapons like pulses are the perfect sweet spot for this encounter, along with, yes, I'm saying it, maybe even bows to kill hobgoblins. Shotguns are not bad either. Riven has many mini encounters that you must get through in order to damage her, although you will be damaging her constantly throughout the fight in small chunks. Let's start with the blue and yellow rooms. You're going to split your team into threes, 3 for blue and 3 for yellow. The only difference between the rooms is that the blue room has slightly more cover, which makes dodging certain things a tiny bit easier. When you first enter your room, one of 3 things will happen. Number 1, Riven will spawn in your room and start breathing fire. Number 2, Riven will spawn in your room and have her tentacles at the ready. Or number 3, Riven does not show up to your room. The goal of this sequence, if you have Riven in your room, is to stagger her so that 2 of her eyes glow when she leaves. You will relay this information to your other team of 3 however you so choose, while that other team of 3 will damage her as much as possible before shooting the 2 correct eyes. So how do you stagger Riven? Well, if she's breathing fire, then you need to shoot her in the mouth when it glows red, which is immediately after she breathes fire at someone in the room. The damage you need to deal appears to be cumulative. It does not need to be all in one shot, although it is easier in my opinion to just burst her down all at once. If she has her tentacles out, then you need to bait a tentacle slam attack by waiting underneath one of them until it glows and then getting out of the way. When it slams down and glows red, that's when it is vulnerable. Be aware that if you're on the ground when the tentacle slams, it'll knock you into the air really high, so jump right before it slams. You should definitely do burst damage on the tentacle as well, so that you don't need to bait it a bunch of times. The radius of the slam attack is much bigger than it seems, so be careful. If you stagger her correctly, 2 eyes will glow. Mark these down however you want, because if the other team does not get this information, or gets the wrong information, you will die unless you happen to get a very lucky guess. The team that does not have Riven will have an Eye of Riven spawn in their room, which will drop a Taken Essence. When you pick this up, if you look towards the back of the room, you'll see a symbol, the same one displayed 5 times in a column. In these rooms will also be a giant window towards the back of the room. When you look through the window, you'll see a lot of different symbols in various positions on the stairs. The person in the window needs to guide the person with the essence to the correct icon so that the elevator in the pathway behind the room activates and you all can go up. You cleanse your icon using the grenade ability on the Eye of Riven. It's the same thing as the Cyclone from Morgeth. Note that both sides will have to do this. The difference is when you do it. If your side did not have Riven, after the other team staggers her, she will come to your side and prepare an attack. You'll have an opportunity to do some damage by shooting her in the mouth. Take these DPS opportunities seriously. While it might not seem like much, these damage phases do add up over time. When her mouth closes, that is when you should shoot the 2 eyes that you were told to shoot. You can go earlier if you want. If that works, she'll go upstairs and you should do the same. Both teams should try to go upstairs at the same time if possible. Once you ride the elevator up, the sides will switch, so if you had Riven first, you'll have Riven second this time. The sequence works in the same way. Once you clear this room, you'll head back up to the start room. You'll then need to do the stagger sequence as a full team 3 times for 3 pairs of eyes as she goes around the room, starting on the right side of the yellow side. During this sequence, you will have taken goblins and ogres spawning. The goblins are not a big deal at all, but they will make the ogres immune sometimes, and the ogre eye beam will physically push you backwards on top of dealing a lot of damage. After you have 3 pairs of eyes, you'll prep for 1 more damage phase, then shoot all 6 eyes at the same time to stun her for the final time. At this time, players should head back to their original plates to prepare for 1 more opportunity to deal Riven damage. Creeping Darkness will start to set in after you clear all of the adds in the room, which is a debuff that stacks very quickly, about once per second. If this ever reaches 10 stacks, you die. Standing on any plate in the room cleanses your stacks. When everyone gets back onto their plates, you'll go back down, but you'll have the opportunity to shoot at weak spots on Riven herself. These deal big chunks of damage to Riven. As you start to fall and kill more, the weak spots will spawn Axion darts that will float towards the players that popped said weak spot. Getting hit by 1 or 2 usually isn't a big deal unless your power level is very low, but getting 4 or 5 of them on one person usually means death, so you need to make sure that you shoot these down. Once you land, the entire sequence starts over again. You should aim to complete this in 2 damage phases. When you manage to get Riven to that bar towards the end of her health, you as a team will instantly be teleported to the Ascendant Realm, where you will need to platform your way up to a single Taken Strength node at the end of the path. There will be Taken Phalanx in your way trying to boop you off, and these guys should be killed immediately. You will also be losing health over time, so you need to move quickly. Your health will not regenerate. About halfway through, you're going to need to make a 180 to continue progress. We'll go over that spot later. When you touch the Taken Strength orb, the entire team will be teleported back to the main room, where you will do your final stand. Shoot her in the mouth until she dies. Then, no, you're still not actually done. You will jump into her mouth and go down the path to shoot the Taken Blight inside. Killing this is the end of the encounter. Alright, so that was a lot to go over. Let's talk about the strategy and the flow of the encounter. When you first enter your blue or yellow room, you'll be greeted by about 8 Scions or so and 4 Hobgoblins, 2 on each side. Note that you do not have unlimited time to get to your rooms, so move quickly. Adds will spawn when the chamber is sealed. The left side usually gets their Hobgoblins to spawn a little bit before the right side. If you have a tether, now is a pretty good time to use it for all of the Scions. If you're starting with Riven, you'll have Scions spawning in throughout. They spawn in various amounts per spawn, as few as 1 up to 4 at a time. They're 580 power. This is a 580 power encounter, so they hurt. After Riven leaves, you will have 4 more Hobgoblins spawn along with your Eye of Riven. If you start without Riven, you'll also start with 4 Hobgoblins and 8 or so Scions, but then will very shortly after have another wave of Hobgoblins spawn along with your Eye of Riven. As for how to handle the timing of sending Riven over by staggering her, that can be done in a couple of different ways. You don't get unlimited time with Riven, because eventually she will just leave, and if you didn't stagger her, then again, unless you get lucky with the eyes, you wipe. So you can do it one of 2 ways. Number 1, Team 1 waits to send Riven until you hear icon callouts from Team 2, or number 2, Team 1 sends her right away, and Team 2 does their icon cleansing after dealing damage to her and after she leaves. In the first example, you do basically what I just said. Communicate with the other team to find out when to properly time shooting Riven to send her over. The problem with this strategy is that if Team 2 takes too long on their icon cleanse, then Team 1 will either not get the eye information or will send her in the middle of a cleanse, potentially blocking your ability to get said cleanse. This strategy relies on quick, smooth icon cleansing callouts. In the second example, Team 1 will kill all of their adds, kill another ad wave so that there's nothing there, and then send her immediately, while Team 2 listens for when she is being sent, kills their Eye of Riven, and does damage first, then their icon cleanse. Remember that the taken essence stays on the ground for 45 seconds, and even if it disappears, a new Eye of Riven will spawn. The problem with this strategy is that both teams may be doing their icon callouts at the same time, leading to some potential communication problems. Ultimately, which strategy you pick completely depends on your team's preference, as both work just fine.
I have tether here for first part.
Do you have super hold?
No, but maybe we'll get lucky. If that gives me an
Well, these dudes are lagging for me.
All right, he's
yeah, scions are.
They're lag switching you, dude. Ah, fudge me.
I'm really low on heavy. I can't hit this. Actually, I can kill this Riven.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going up.
Let us know when you're baiting.
Okay, baiting now.
You snake.
You snake is right stairs near the dead plant brazier. Down. Right there. Bing, bing,
This
bing,
one?
bing. Yep. That's a hell of a call out, right?
Alright, Bless,
This
you
is
get
mine,
L2, that's
Christian.
the higher one, I'll get L4.
Yep.
All right. You said R2? L2. You got it. You got it.
Let's kill the Riven here. I'm grabbing this right away, right, Datto?
Yes.
Alright, let's do Bless. Oh,
Grabbing. A condor with wings that are going down. Looks like a big bird with wings that are down.
Middle, top, middle, right. Yes.
Right here.
Very glad it was that one and not dive bomb.
Speaking of callouts, we need to establish callouts for both shooting the eyes and cleansing the icons. I've seen many different eye charts and callouts on the internet so far, and it doesn't really matter what you use, but my team uses the following chart for eye callouts. We go in a Z pattern for the left side eyes, like how you would normally read things, while the right side goes from left to right. This is what has worked for my team. We like it, so there you go. As for staircase callouts, we have the following grids. Good callouts are a very big deal here. The more time you spend saying up, 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 no left, left, no other left, down, 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 the less time you get dealing with Riven upstairs. Simple callouts and memorizing those callouts will go a long way. Be sure to try to go upstairs together if possible when going from the first floor to the second. When you're on the second floor going up to the third, you just want to go up the elevator immediately. When you're all the way back up, Tethers, Sentinels, and Wells of Radiance reign supreme here. You want to be chaining supers as much as possible to suppress the ogres, since they really hurt. Thunder Crash at higher levels will one-shot ogres. As for ogre spawn locations, the first wave will be before Riven, with ogres spawning on the blue and yellow middle plates. The next wave will spawn with Riven. Riven will be on the right side yellow slot with an ogre to your right when facing the boss, and another to your left. Try to kill ogres before going for a stagger. The staggers work the same exact way as when you're downstairs, except you only get about half the normal time. That means that you only get about 3 fire breath attacks to stagger and only a few seconds to bait a tentacle attack. Note that you will likely bait a tentacle attack early if you're a Sentinel Titan fighting adds near her, so be aware of that. Clear communication is key here. You will then go clockwise around the room 2 more times. Wave 3 will spawn ogres on her left and right, while Wave 4 will spawn 1 to the left of the boss if you're facing the boss, and then up on a ramp on the right. We call this Top Shelf Ogre. After you have staggered her 3 times and gathered 3 pairs of eyes, it is time to DPS. How you choose to split the eyes among your team is up to you. My team assigns 1 eye per person, but we also get into pairs for backup. So, player 1 would shoot eye 1, player 2 is going to shoot eye 2, but both players would look out for eyes 1 and 2. 3 and 4 would do the same thing, and 5 and 6. This is just to have a backup in place in case someone dies, gets flinched, or otherwise cannot shoot their eye. DPS can take place wherever you feel most comfortable. I have 2 spots. One is right in the middle of the room, using the cover as much as possible since 2 ogres will spawn during the DPS phase, one at top shelf and one to your right if you're facing Riven. You will probably be ignoring these ogres, so use Titan walls and other cover to hide because they will mess you up. The pros to DPSing so close is that you can shoot your eye much easier. The con is that you have to stand near ogres who could potentially flinch you and mess you up. If you miss an eye here, it's a wipe. You can also DPS in the very far back of the room on the opposite side of Riven. The pros, no ogres. The cons, you need to snipe your eye and it's much harder to hit. If you're using Whisper of the Worm, you can safely get in 9 shots if you start shooting right away, with 12 shots being the most I would ever go for. The biggest thing here is to make sure you get your eye by whatever means necessary. If that means stopping damage early, then do that. When you get your eyes down, players should start rotating towards their original plates. There will still be 2 ogres up. These need to be killed, so just be cognizant of your positioning. If you happen to be in the wrong spot, that's okay, because every plate cleanses Creeping Darkness. Cleanse first, then move to your plate. When you go back to your plates, you'll fall back down, this time with the ability to shoot the weak spots on Riven. When you start, no Axion darts will be spawning, but as you drop down and kill them, they will start to spawn. 2 tips. Number 1, hold whatever input will move you backwards. And number 2, try not to shoot weak points directly in front of you. Darts will typically go to the person who shot said weak spot, and if you shoot 2 spots directly in front of you towards the end, well, you're probably going to die unless you kill those darts. Do not be afraid to pop your super in order to survive, because a death here means on-the-fly callouts to get people rezzed, which means you're going to have people switching teams to get those rezzes, and you want to avoid that if possible. When entering the Ascendant Realm, you want to kill all of the phalanx in your way, and all others that might be shooting you. Pop a Sentinel super if you have one, and lead the way. You do not regenerate health here, so what my team will do is gather on the rock where you turn around and have a Dawnblade use a healing grenade to give everyone an overshield and then keep going. Once one person touches the taken strength, you'll all be teleported back, and you'll shoot her in the mouth until she dies. And then you go inside of her mouth. Yeah, just walk right in there, go all the way down, and shoot the Blight. When this dies, you'll get a key to a chest. The only problem is that you're not technically done, although you do have the checkpoint now, so dying after this part will reset you to here. This part is the final encounter of Last Wish, where you need to take Riven's heart to the Techian to be cleansed. So, let's explain this one. The heart will choose people at random. If you are chosen, you are the only person who can hold the heart. The heart does the following. It has an aura that cleanses people of Creeping Darkness, and it disables all abilities of the holder. So that's no shooting, no abilities, no second jump. All you can do as the heart holder is walk forward and use a regular jump. Your team needs to protect you as you all run the gauntlet back to the vault. Your only job as the holder is to hold forward as much as possible. Creeping Darkness works in the same way. 10 stacks and you die. The chosen person will also have a timer ticking down, and as the timer ticks down, the radius of the aura for cleansing Creeping Darkness gets smaller and smaller until it's basically nothing. When the timer runs out, you are sent to what is being called the Rainbow Room. Not only is the heart holder sent there, but anyone standing next to the heart holder, when teleported, is also teleported. The heart will also teleport anyone who gets too close to it immediately after a teleport, so, give it a second. The Rainbow Room is actually inside of the heart itself. Inside of the Rainbow Room are tons of ads and Mites of Riven who will actually attack you this time, although the amount of ads scales up based on the number of people in the heart. So when first starting out, it's not that bad at all. The heart will choose a new player after a teleport. That new player picks up the heart, and you keep going. Inside of the Rainbow Room are taken strength buffs. When all taken strength buffs in the Rainbow Room are picked up, the timer of the heart is reset to 15 seconds. You can extend the timer once per person. The amount of taken strength that spawn is equal to the number of players inside of the heart. So the first person inside will only have 1 taken strength, another person gets teleported in, now there's 2, and so on. So you want to be grabbing the last buff when the timer is low. The heart holder should be counting down the entire time so that the Rainbow Room can pick up the taken strength. You should pick them up in between 2 to 3 seconds remaining, as it takes the game a second to register that you actually picked it up. The general rule of thumb that I go by is the first person teleported in always grabs the last buff. That is your job the whole time. If you're asking if you can pick up all but 1 of the taken strength, saving 1 until 2 seconds remaining, the answer is yes, you can, and yes, you should absolutely do that. Just communicate who's grabbing what. Again, while inside the Rainbow Room, the only objectives are to pick up taken strength and stay alive. There will be a lot of ads spawning, an overwhelming amount. Feel free to just keep running and jumping around the room in circles, popping supers, using heavy ammo, whatever you need to do to just stay alive. The first room on the outside is definitely the hardest, since you have Centurions throwing darts at you, and if you're low power, these are a one-shot, so those darts need to be shot and killed, with Centurions being the absolute priority target. There are 3 in the first room, 1 to your immediate left, 1 in front of you, and then 1 at the doorway of the next room. This is the only room where Centurions spawn. Try to stay towards the left if possible in this first room. If more than 1 person dies on the outside or is teleported early, which basically counts as a death, you probably won't have enough people to make it to the end. So if you start with 2 deaths or an accidental teleport, you may just want to wipe and try again. Encounter flow is as follows. The first person will pick up the heart and drop it right before the exit out of Riven, then be teleported. The second person will pick up the heart and start moving while everyone else kills ads, specifically focusing on Centurions. Tethers and offensive supers are the way to go here. Do not bother with rifts. The second person will be counting down their timer, and when it gets to 3 or 2, the first person in the Rainbow Room will pick up a taken strength, extending the timer. In terms of pace, the heart holder should be around the next doorway when you extend the timer. After that reset, the second holder will be teleported inside, and you will repeat this process until you deliver the heart. When you get to the room with the platforms, you should jump on these platforms, as being on the black crystal will damage you. Other players need to kill all of the ads. Even Thrall are going to hurt really badly. When you get to the vault room, either the forest or spire route will be open. If it's the forest, hug right and go into the tunnel. If it's spire, hug left and go into the tunnel. The goal here is to get to the temple room. You need to go all the way around. When you get to the temple, you'll drop down the hole and go up the main staircase in this room. It'll be lit up. Keep walking up the stairs, and your character will deliver the heart, teleporting everyone.
I am glad you did not heed her words. We will finish this.
If you manage to do that, then you have beaten Last Wish, and you can grab some loot from the chests. It does not matter which chest you pick. I want to thank Math Class, again, for putting in so much time and helping me with these guides. I want to thank my Discord for their peer review of these videos. Thank you to Bungie for giving us what I think is the best raid we've ever gotten, and you for watching. If you enjoyed this guide, a positive rating is very much appreciated. I'll see you next time.